Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Lebenspraxis Podcast. This time I'm not alone, but with Tim Böttner. I already had sort of a guest I think 3 episodes ago. I was not really a guest because it was Mariana, and we will do several episodes in the future together. So actually, Tim is the first real guest in this podcast, which is also because the first idea was that I'm just talking here into the microphone alone, but my idea is to have more regular, not in every episode, but here and there, someone that I'm talking with. And I'm very happy to talk with Tim. And I was on Tim's podcast recently, and this episode is also online, and you find this everywhere where you find podcasts, basically. And Tim's podcast is called Think, Flow, Grow. And I will put a link in the show notes, in the show description. Okay, Tim, welcome.
Yes, I'm pretty honored to be your first real guest. And yeah, I'm pretty happy to have this opportunity. And it's funny because on my podcast, I have a lot of guests. And last month, I realized that I have to say something, or have to say a lot from my own in more solo episodes. So right now, I decided to have my regular guest episodes. And every Monday, I put a short episode, like 20 minutes from my own, with my own thoughts out there. And I really enjoy that, just to share my thoughts. And that's not about 1 hour perfect agenda. It's just my thoughts. I feel like a little bit like you doing that. And for me, it's really, really freeing to have this solo episodes on Monday and longer episodes, the more intense episodes on Thursday. Yeah, with my guests.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, and it's pretty different, no? How such episodes are produced, like in the mind, like how the preparation is, at least for me, that when I talk with someone, what is happening in my mind, it's just different from when I do solo episodes. And many of my solo episodes I do spontaneously, so I don't have them scheduled in my calendar, but I have like blocks in my calendar where creative work can happen. And then I have a topic that I carry around with me for some time, maybe just a few days, but maybe also several weeks. Yeah. Or sometimes something just comes up and I do relatively directly that I record something. Are you more of a planner guy or more of a spontaneous guy, Tim?
It's both. Absolutely, it's both. So I have a couple of episodes. I think that are more like resources or guides, maybe for topics like digestion or cold exposure. I really love to plan it, have a good structure, and then put out something like a guide that people can use. And then other episodes are like what I'm observing, what's in my mind right now with my coaches, and what I'm observing. Usually I am bothering my girlfriend a couple of days with that and just talking to her. And then she says, hey, you have to do an episode that's out of my mind. And this spontaneous flow, it's not really spontaneous. It's interesting because I'm thinking about that for days and days and days, but then I just put it out. So I like both. I like the structure and spontaneous, intuitive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And for me, it's interesting because sometimes I think that if I'm just intuitive and just put it out, it doesn't really resonate. It's not that good structured, but the feedback is so good that because it really resonates. If I have too much structure, sometimes I feel that it doesn't really resonate with the people. Maybe it's, I don't know, it's not really structured. If I'm spontaneous and intuitive, it's like on the same wave with my listeners, or it's I have no idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's a great point, and I have experimented also a bit with this. I have this first episodes of my podcast where I did a lot of cutting, for example, and they're very quick. And some people really liked it, and for other people, it was too quick. And I have episodes that are more structured and episodes that are that are, yeah, like I said, more spontaneous in that sense, like where I didn't have any notes. Like with some I have a lot of notes, and with some I have zero notes, just from my head. And that's also a question that I have in my mind, what does transport, the stuff, let's say, better? And it's not really, first, it's not a good question, because I asked what is better. So I don't think it's a good question, but it's just sort of a question that sometimes pops up, and it's not a question to really, that I really think will be answered. It's more a contemplation starter, exactly about this, how the listeners or the mind in general takes in things. Also, if it's connected to personal story, or if it's abstract, something like this. No, like, is it easier for listeners to put into place if there's a connection to a personal story behind, let's say, a certain way to practice or something like this, or is that just unnecessary information, and it's nicer to have the information clean?
That's so interesting. Yeah, that's so interesting. I'm really thinking a lot about that, and I think both is true, and maybe there's a synergy. So if I put out some resources or like guides, sometimes I created that because I'm not want to explain how digestion works again and again for my clients. So I put out a podcast about that and just say, listen to that, and then we can talk about that. And if we talk about afterwards about that, we don't talk about the facts, about the information. We talk about the story and all that stuff. So I think sometimes we need the basic information, and then we can go, I would not say deeper, but more connected, more personal. But what I realized, it depends from person to person. But sometimes if they have some, or if I have some intuitive, personal storytelling episodes, sometimes afterwards they say, okay, what was that? I don't know. I don't know what I have learned. And they feel that they didn't learn a lot, but they know that they learned a lot. So it's like wisdom is really hard to grasp. So I think maybe we can frame it like they can learn with the heart, but sometimes their mind is what their mind is still empty, but their heart is full, something like that. And from some episodes, for example, like Dr. Andrew Huberman, he's a really, really good teacher and a lot of information. And if I listen to that episode afterwards, my mind is, wow, I learned a lot. And then I just try to feel deeply inside me, and who cares? And so it's interesting. I think the stories and all that stuff, it's like feeling, it's fueling my heart, and the mind stuff feels really good because I'm a really thinker. My mind is really, my mind does a lot, but sometimes I feed my mind, but afterwards I feel still empty. So I think a good approach is to feed the mind with information, but embed it in stories, So I think that's a useful combination. So it's interesting that you, if you were on my podcast, you said that you don't want to talk about where are you from and all that stuff and your personal story. You don't want to talk about that. And I thought about that and I respected it for sure. But I think for me, it's sometimes really, really interesting to have a story to connect. And I think that could be really, really useful to have this connection and first create a field of synchronicity. I have no idea.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tim. Just sorry that I reingrätschen. I don't know how to say this in English. When the soccer player is doing with the sliding with the legs into the ball to get the ball, and sometimes slides into the other player. I don't know how to say this in English, but I agree with you that the biography of a person, I also find it highly interesting, but I would prefer it to be sprinkled in more here and there, instead of having a block of biography. So I like also that we just started now, and haven't really talked much about, or not at all, about your biography. But what people already heard is that you're also coaching people. So, I would like to sort of like open the curtain slightly here and there. And this is how I do it with my own biography also here and there. So there are maybe some occasions in my life that are interesting to know about because they're interesting for my practice and for what I do, and therefore they're also interesting for the people that do what I do. And I don't feel I have lifted everything there, so I take my time. So every 10 years, a little bit here and there. This I like it more. I find it a bit more mysterious in this sense, but in a positive way, like, because the reason why I told you, Tim, I don't want to do this biography thing in the beginning is just that every time when I listen to this biography stuff in podcasts, I don't skip it because I'm not a skipper. Yeah. I also don't skip pages in books or something like this. I always go from the beginning to the end. But I'm usually my concentration is lowering in this moments when people talk about their biography. Often, not always. Like sometimes people present it very well, but then often people don't present it so well. And actually, when I think about my biography, it's not very interesting. At least not the stuff that I usually say. It's not interesting. That's why I said I don't want. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it depends. If I'm asking about the biography, I'm asking sometimes because I feel if a person presents a concept in my podcast, but I feel that this concept is highly influenced by the biography.
Yes.
Sometimes I feel it's really important to have this context. If it's just information, it doesn't matter. So I have a lot of guests that present just information. That's perfect. That's fine. And so the biography doesn't really matter. But if it's a controversial topic, sometimes it's really it's really important to know why this person have this opinion, this concept, and how this develops, just to understand the concept. Yeah, I think that's the point. If it's necessary to understand the concept, then the biography matters. But
it can be also dangerous, no, Tim? Like if you know if you know the personal history of the person, then suddenly he's thinking this because this and this happened to him in his or her life. And then it can actually like take away from the raw point, because I have this sometimes that he's just a bit angry because someone didn't let him use the slide when he was a kid on the playground, So I think I'm doing this a bit, so maybe for me sometimes better when I don't know the biography of controversial opinions.
Yeah, that's true. And I really enjoyed that you mentioned that you liked a little bit mysterious and lifting the curtain slowly, because I think every teacher, as you and me, is different. But for me, I realize that it's important that people don't know everything about me because they project a lot of stuff on me, their stories to me, and that's okay. That's one point. I don't want to be too relatable, how's it called? Sometimes I play with this, that people project their stuff on me, and I can offer with my avatar some solutions, but it's important to have this gap to allow them to project and have stories in their mind while I'm talking about that and that and that, and that's not my story. That's not true, but it doesn't matter. So this it's important for me to be a little bit in this mysterious plane, because I think it's useful sometimes.
Yeah, very interesting point, no? Because it's also with the stuff that we are doing, you want to inspire people with walking the walk know clearly also, like we don't want to talk about all this stuff and do something else in reality, and also have the experience with all the things. Yeah, but I also sometimes feel also that okay, my experience only matter to a certain point, or actually only in a certain angle they matter, and from another angle, yeah, it's not about the experience or the way that I went, but what I learned from that, and sort of the general things that I learned from that I can provide. So it's a little bit of a tricky thing also, no? This personal connection, because we both have offers that are very much based on our own experience also, and where we are at the front, and you do your podcast, and you have your website, and you do your stuff as a solo person. And like me, although I'm not alone doing it, and here the main person that has to be always how do I say it, named, called, is is Mariana, of course, because I see her really as my partner in this, but this is my name from the website and so on and so forth. Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky point that can there on the one hand is very powerful, no, like to have a very, like, it's a personal thing. It's not like it's clear it's from a person in a world where many things are in a Kafka-esque layering, where you don't know who's behind it, and I prefer if things are from people.
Yes. So yes, you mentioned that I'm working with clients and what I realized, what really powerful is, that's interesting, because if I stay mysterious a little bit, so to be honest, people think that I'm perfect, can do everything and have no problems. It's really often. It's really, really often. And
Yeah.
I'm one-on-one, and I really started a couple of years ago to share a lot of vulnerability of my own struggles. And that's so why it's so interesting what happens if people realize, oh, this guy has problems, he have health problems too, he's struggling too, and that's really, really healing for people. So I started to share more of my vulnerability, and I really feel that people have a big relief. Sometimes they project something like a perfect avatar on me, and that could be really hard for people. So, and I so enjoy that so much. If I see, oh, yeah, Tim, you're struggling, so nice, I'm not alone. So, and that's one point that I'm sharing. But it's interesting because it's personal, but I'm not sharing that from. I'm sharing that for my inner core, but I'm sharing that for a reason. It's like sharing another part from this avatar, from this projection field or something like that. Yeah, you know what I mean, right?
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. And I think it's a funny phenomenon that people sometimes project that on various other people, that are, and especially it can happen in this stuff where people present a good way to do things, like to eat and to move, to sleep and so on, that they think are the protagonists that are presenting this are always doing all of this 100%. Yeah, which is obviously not the case. There are some people that are 99%, but I mean, many people that present this stuff are definitely below 99% of doing everything right all the time, and maybe quite a few people. I mean, there's everything on this scale. No, there are people. If we talk about nutrition, let's say, there are people that were always eating well and it just comes natural to them, and then they start to talk about it and it becomes a thing that they do in life, like talking with people about how to eat properly. But other people went a complete other path, and the opposite path maybe, where they ate very wrong, and maybe at some point the doctor said, if you continue like this, that won't be very good. And then they made a life change and turned around, and they take this experience and give it to other people and so on. But it might be that they still struggle with all this stuff, which can actually also make them a very good coach. So that's always a little bit in the a question, no? In teaching and coaching, would you rather go to, like with nutrition, would I rather go to, let's say I want to lose weight, would I go to someone that was struggling with this for a long time and also wanted to lose weight, and then didn't manage to do it for a long time and then managed to do it and now can talk about it? Or do I want to go to someone that was lean, that was always lean and will always be lean, and so who's the better guy to go to? Like, I personally don't feel like a good person to like a really good person to talk about losing weight, because I'm just genetically, I'm happy that I have a bit of muscle mass. So because genetically I'm just like a spaghetti stick. So from experience, I have zero experience, personal experience. I mean, I have zero personal experience with losing weight. So everything that I can talk about is abstract knowledge that I read, I heard, and I saw. And it's also good. I can definitely also help people, and I'm helping people with that. But purposefully, it's not written anywhere on my website. Yeah, because that's not the thing where I feel, oh, this is my strength or something like this. Yeah, if this comes up, I can help people there because I was exposed to it. But that's it. Like I'm not a superstar of weight loss. And if someone has this as a main goal, I would not recommend the person to work with me. But if it's a goal that is also in there with the other goals, and the other goals are matching also my strengths, for example, getting out of pain, this stuff where I would consider myself being pretty good, then it works.
That's interesting, and that's my invitation for every listener, just to have a look and a feeling for the coaches, teachers, people. I think there's an archetype, the wounded healer, and I think everybody is a wounded healer in a way. We have always a big pain, and the point is that for me it's so obvious that the people that are achieving whatever that means the most had the biggest pain. It could be a psychological pain, what they see or feel on their own, or physiological pain. But the most successful people have the longest and hardest journey pretty often, I think. And that's so interesting. What's in my mind right now in the last weeks is how to start. Sometimes I see some trainers, coaches, mentors, they had a long journey. It's like a hero's journey, and they struggled maybe with weight, maybe with whatever their thing is. And then they have the essence, everything is clear. Or maybe they are movement guys and they have got it all, they have understand all the principles of movement, blah, 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 blah. And then they have the essence, and then they say something like, so it's all easy, and just start with the easy. There's the essence, and there it is. And you don't have to struggle. And they neglect their whole journey, their whole 10, 20 years of a journey. And that's simply not true. I think we don't have to make all the mistakes they did again, but there's not a real shortcut. And that drives me crazy right now, because I can read that in the media, in social media, everywhere. Everything is easy because I have the essence. Yes, I have some essences too, but there's no way that a person can jump to the essence. Because so one example is that maybe the Buddha have all the wisdom of all the world in one sentence, but obviously it doesn't help us, because if we could read the holy words from the Buddha, we would all be enlightened and healthy and happy. But it doesn't work this way. We all have to make this life journey, this hero's journey, and all that stuff. Yes, that's so interesting. That drives me crazy that people, that coaches or other mentors have a say or communicate that you don't have to struggle, and that's simply not true. Struggle doesn't mean that we have to suffer and be sad all the time, but for me it's an adventure, and we have to go to this hero's journey, to this adventure, to have in your words, we have to practice. And I feel that people don't take this challenge, take this practice in to achieve the essence. So for me, essence is so, I love the word essence right now, because essence, it's the basis, the basis, but it's in the end, there's essence again. But the point is that between the first, the lowest and the highest essence, there's a deep dive. There's all the struggle, the love, the pain, and all that stuff. And that's important. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. So there is this devaluing of the personal experience almost a bit, no? Like you said, like things have to be very fast. And that's such a, it's like the joke of the 21st century. And it has been, this book's written about it, like in Germany also, no, like from Hartmut Rosa, and that we, everything gets faster, and the internet is the place where this is happening, no? Like now with the AI, everything like this even faster and faster and faster and faster, and people underestimate often when they have their goals. Sometimes they overestimate, and they think that takes much longer, but it's a pretty quick thing. This I also have here and there, but there are also people that completely underestimate what it means to do certain things. For example, still many people come to me, many young guys, and say they want to learn a one-arm chin-up or something like this. And I made my Fortengleistung video about this years ago, but I think it's not watched anymore. About these goals where my critique is that's not a genuine goal from yourself, that you really explored and that is really coming out of your inner self, but it's just something that you saw on the internet and you saw it's cool, and you saw this is like a sort of a status update or a thing to get into a certain community and feel connected. That's not bad, but still for me it's a bit like, okay, yeah, we all do the same, and we have the same goals, and we think this milestone, we need to achieve these milestones, and then this is then we will arrive. So anyway, people might ask for this one-arm chin-up, and then they very often say time frames like this year I want to learn it, and I think, well, you can maybe do one normal chin-up. I would rather think about like 5 years, maybe 10. Yeah, because it just takes a long time for your whole tissues actually to mold into something that then can do a one-arm chin-up. I started to do strength training when I was 13 and went really with it, like training 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, whatever times a day. A week. And then I did my first one-arm chin-up. Yeah, I have no idea actually when I did. I think, wait, let me, with 20, yeah, 23, 22. Yeah, I think with 22. So almost 10 years. And of course, it was not that from the start I went directly into it, but it's just, I feel very happy that there was this time. And I mean, I achieved it in the sense early in life, but I started very early. And that's why, when someone says, okay, they want to learn such a hard move, but they don't have a real strong fundament in the basics. My feeling is that somewhere in the internet, people pretended that this is a quick thing to learn. And I really resonate with what you're saying about, walking the journey also, like each of us, and having help and guidance on the path, and not getting the things already too pre-digested. And that's something that, for example, I play with in the movement coaching, to not necessarily give everything, all the answers, but create these open situations where I put some constraints, and these constraints help people to make experiences. And from there, I put like clear pins here and there, like clear things like, okay, don't do this with the knee because this and this, you don't have to make this experience of injuring your knee. Yeah, others already did it, so that's not a necessity to do it by yourself, but other experience is very good to make. So to play with that. And I used to do this quite a bit. Then I stopped to work with this more open situations for a few years, and now I'm doing it much more again, and also actually feeling I want to even broaden it. And I feel the limit of this is the mind of the people that want the answers. So I'm carefully, sprinkling this in, putting this in, that there can be sessions where I don't show anything in that sense. I just open situations and describe them, and maybe show a hint, but purposefully don't put my solution in there, in order to not create another copy of myself, but to let people make their experiences.
Yeah, I like the topic of goals and the process. I think it depends a little bit how old someone is. I think it's a journey. For me, was really important, or is important to achieve goals. So for example, my first goal was when I was competing in powerlifting 10 years ago. So I have my deadlift, bench press, squat. There are some numbers that I want to achieve. So that was really important for me, and then I achieved that. And then I think, how that can feel. You achieve that. You in the night, you are on the bed and think, okay, who cares? So it's like an empty hole. And for me, it's what's with the one-arm chin-up was the same stuff. There was a time where was a lot of rock climbing and bouldering, and I got my one-arm chin-up, and then I realized, okay, who cares? So, and that was again and again and again. And in a way, right now, I have a daughter and my child, that if I would frame that as a goal, so if my daughter is here right now, I achieved the goal, it doesn't make sense. So I realized that the goal isn't the point, but for me, it's important to have these big goals, achieve the goals, and then the realization that the goal doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. So I realized that what's interesting is what I have with the goal, but if I enjoyed the process with the goal, and that's in my mind right now. For me, a practice is to enjoy everything I'm doing. That's not I don't mean that I'm happy with everything I'm doing, but I'm just fully in my full heart. And I think, in a way, goals are important to do things, but for me, it's right now the process of doing things is so important. So I like the word eros. Eros is like having sex with every moment, being really intimate in everything I'm doing and what I'm doing. And that's my practice right now. So to be intimate with everything I'm doing and every moment I'm living. So that's my practice. This would be my goal, to really can able to enjoy everything I'm doing. And the goal is in a way for me right now, just something that's leading my direction, but the process is way more important. But for me, that's true. But that's something for me right now on my stage right now, like an essence. But I feel that would be not possible to realize 10 years before. So I have to go through the hustle, achieve my goal, empty. Hustle, achieve my goal, empty. And I have to do that not for half a year, but maybe for 10 years. I'll do it again and again. And then, develop this other viewpoint. Yeah, but it feels like I couldn't do that in my 20s. I could start doing that in my 30s, and could maybe master that in my 40s, 50s. I don't know. Yeah, that's just one point that I think that's an essence right now for me, but nobody can jump into it. But it's important for me as a teacher to give this hints, or just to give an impulse, to have this perspective. And then I think we have this impulse, play with the thought, play with the practice, and then it unfolds in months, years, maybe centuries. So, and I have no idea how my mind is working if I'm in my 50s. I don't know.
I wonder if this phenomena that is something that probably other people, listeners, also know about, achieving your goal and then, in a sense, nothing happens, is because the expectation is wrong. That the expectation is that when you reach a certain goal, like a certain thing is happening. I cannot formulate it actually. Like what is it that is supposed to happen, and that is then not happening? And that can be because some people have really like bad moments. That's when they reach their goal. That's one thing. But I think the main thing that is happening is that people see that as an end, and didn't think already what will happen next. No, like you reach your goal and everything was towards that goal, reaching the top of the mountain, but you didn't think anything about what will happen after. You have no plan for this. You didn't do any contemplation on that. So you reach the top of the mountain, and then suddenly everything that was streamlined before becomes very wide again. Before you had this focus on one thing, and then it widens, and that creates this difficult moment if you're not, either you know already what happens after, so that the top of the mountain was just a milestone in the process, or that if someone doesn't know what's happening after, that this person, that you feel also all right with that, with this open situation. Yeah, I reached the top of the mountain. I didn't think about what's happening next. Something will happen next, but I don't know what it will be, and that's okay. And I feel with things that I did and things where I would also say I achieved, like things that are difficult to do, where I did a lot of work to reach it, that they are very important milestones in my life, because I put them into the right perspective. I put them in the perspective that they can be these important milestones. I don't ask too much for them and not too little, but I understand what does this mean, like, okay, to reach, like our example now, the to have done the one arm chin up. What is the lesson in that sense in there. Can you relate to this? Does it make sense for you?
It makes sense. Absolutely. It makes absolute sense. And in no way I would say that goals are useless. No way. I think one point that's in my mind right now is a lot of health goals. I think health goals are really important to have a joyful, long life, blah, blah, blah. And for example, someone have or should lose 10 pounds of weight or 10 kilos of weight. And then it's a journey, maybe 1 or 2 years, who knows. And then we attach to this goal. It could be whatever you want. And you attach to this goal and you strive for this goal. And then you achieve this goal. You have this optimal body weight, or you use your chin-ups to gain strength and bone mass and all that stuff. And the point is that often if I achieve goals, then I have a status where I can be more free and can do other things, because I'm on the top of the mountain, but afterwards I don't step down. But I have there's not really the top of the mountain. There's not a next entry point, so where I can go higher. But the point is that I think we are often, a lot of people are attached to the process. But the point is that or financial freedom, we have financial freedom. And if we have the financial freedom, we can let go of this goal and can have other goals and use this freedom, this physical freedom from training, this financial freedom or mental freedom for some personality exploration work, blah, blah, blah. And then if we don't let go, we don't really use that. I think this attachment to the process, this can hinder us and can be really, really hard. So I think that's my point sometimes. So, so in my life, I have a lot of benchmarks. I know if I undergo these benchmarks, I will feel way better, not that joyful. Maybe I will die earlier, who knows? And then I go back to this benchmark, strive for this benchmark, whatever it would be. And if I'm there, I don't have to think about that again for a time. I'm way more free. But that letting go, for me, that's really important, but sometimes it could be hard. I think that's a problem in the nutrition space. Is a big space with a lot of emotions and so, and people become really, really attached to a diet and all that stuff. But for me, it's really important to get the nutrition some kind of on point and become healthy. But if we are healthy, if we have had that ketogenic diet, blah, 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 and we are healthy, then we can let go. And we don't have to put too much focus on food. And I don't want to stay there. In the end, it should be easy. But that means that I have to unattach from this goal.
Detach.
Yeah.
Aha. Yeah. As we are talking about the work that you're doing with people, do you want to say a few words about this so we can also have some more biography here? You are doing the big ones also, no? Like movement, nutrition, stress.
Yeah.
Is there an emphasis on a certain point?
There are 2 points. Obviously, there are 2 points. The one part is movement. So to be honest, the process was that I had a couple of years where I worked just as a personal trainer and something like a strength coach, and I studied sports science, all that stuff.
In a gym? You worked in a gym mainly?
Yes, I worked in a gym, yeah. In a regular gym, and as a CrossFit trainer too, and something like that. And then sometimes I was bothered that people ask that dumb questions like, how is a push-up? How do I do a push-up? How do I do a pull-up? And I thought that the basis of doing all that is just basic movement competency. And that's a solution for so much problems. Because in my mind what's the solution for a lot of problems? For having less pain, doing push-ups well, be able to hike, to walk better. What are the principles? And that's, for me, it's like basic movement capacity, not capacity, it's what's wrong. Competence, like, or basic mobility, whatever you want to call it. So that's why so in my mind I'm learning a lot, but what's for me, it's just interesting. What are the principles? What's the point? What's underneath all of that? So I'm like a sponge that sucking everything in, all the movement systems. I really love to read and all that stuff. But I'm really asking all the time, what's the principle? What's the essence that people can use in an effective way? That was a big round. Just to say that one of my teaching, my online courses and workshops are I call it right now mobility, holistic mobility, but it's like basic movement competency. And it's not about, I would say, something like fancy stuff or strong, endurance, or fancy acrobatic stuff, but it's the what's beneath there. Some basic breathing and developmental patterns and all that stuff. Like a driver license to have fun. Because I think, you talked about the one on chin up and all that stuff. And I thought a lot about how to place the scapula and all that stuff. But in my mind, the question is in my mind, why can people children do all of that without knowing any rotation, exercise, and blah, 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 and all that stuff, and any muscle? But why can children do all of that? And we have all this knowledge and can't do that. So, and I think it's something like basic movement education. So,
it's pretty funny, the situations now that I mean,
just one more point, because you asked me before the interview, what's one pain, and that's one pain of my clients. So my clients first come with nutrition stuff and all that stuff, but the point is every time that they know so much. Sometimes I think, what the fuck, what you know way more than me, but
I know the situation.
That's the point. So what the fuck, you did everything, every lab test and every training system, all that stuff, but it doesn't work. And in the end, that's the only thing that matters. Does it work? No, it doesn't work. And there's so much knowledge, but no wisdom and just confusion. That's the main point here.
And no understanding of the essential, like you said that.
That's the point. Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah, I have something that I notice with the trainers that I train, that I educate to teach movement, is that, of course, we are practicing to, how do I say, to correct movements, to see what is stuff that can be corrected here, that is executed wrongly. And when I observe people, not everyone, but very regularly, I notice, people are more hard, let's say, than me, in the sense of they point out much more things. And I'm, through the years, it was always my type, but it became more and more through the years, through the practice, that I see many things. I see way more than the people that are starting with me, because of this thousands of hours of watching videos to correct people and to stand in front of people. But that doesn't necessarily mean I say much more things than them. But I pinpoint out, what do I really want to say? What is really the important thing? Instead of saying everything, the head can be a little bit more like this, and the ear can be a little bit more like this, and your hair can be a little bit more like this, which is very important and good to go through in the beginning as a trainer. Again, the journey you have to do, but then you realize what is actually the points that are important, and that the person can also concentrate on that, and doesn't have to have 10 things in their head to remember, but just one thing. Hey, please try to do more of this. Okay, that's it. That's enough. Like, you don't anyway have enough concentration to do all sorts of things. Because this is not how our mind works. Just concentrate on those one essential thing. And what also came to my mind is, this movement competency, I think, is such, it gets more of a topic, like throughout the years now, because our education, like, kids are going to school, and then this is basically, isn't this the place where we lose our movement competency, the school? it's some like this is where it sort of starts, no? When people,
I'm not sure. I think in my observation, it starts with screens too. For me, a screen is something like I'm in my mind. I'm moving in my mind, but I don't embody movement. And it could be in the school sitting, yeah, it could be, but I think the same thing. Or it's worse. I think it's the screen stuff. Just in my mind, yeah.
So
moving my mind without moving my mind.
You mean the small children also with the screen, or screen in general, like also the grown-ups, you mean?
To be honest, I heard some numbers, and I really can't believe or relate to that children are watching, I have no idea, maybe 4 up to 6 hours television per day or more. In US, it's worse. I can't imagine that. I never did that. I would never do that with my child. I'm watching one documentary a week. Yeah, but I'm spending a lot of time in front of the computer. It's maybe the same. Yeah, but I think that's a really, really big problem. Yeah.
I don't know how it is in the US where these numbers come from. Would be interesting if I know there are some listeners from the US, so maybe they can help out. But I think there's no public daycare like we have in Germany, especially in in East Germany, the most developed part of Germany, where at least by law, every child from year 3, I think in Berlin they want to change it, that is from year 1, that every child has a seat. I think it is actually from year 1 in Berlin, has a place, a spot in a kindergarten. Like by law, the government needs to provide that every child can go into the kindergarten. It's not that they have to, but they can. And unfortunately, the reality is not like this. We are missing many spots. There's huge problems with that, and every parent of young child knows about the situation in German kindergartens, at least like in Berlin here, for example, or Brandenburg, that it's the ratio is just not working at the moment of how many nursery teachers are there and how many children. But I think there are countries like the US where this is not the case, and then people that have not the money to pay someone to come taking care of their child while they work, this is the solution they find. That's my theory. I don't know. Yeah, but and actually just came this realization just came into my head. Why are kids sitting 5 hours in front of the TV? How could this be? Is this because parents don't realize? But maybe it's like this emergency situation where parents have to work and they don't know what to do with their child, and because, which also sounds very dumb, no? But because people have been working forever, but before we have been living in more tribal bands in villages and so on, and if you were working on the field, the children could be also there outside, or the children were meeting with other children, or there was one person from the village that was doing Monday children's work and another person on Tuesday and so on. But now everyone finds their own solution, and this often ends up with this situation that you have no one to take care of your child while you work. You cannot take your child to your work, or your work is inside at the computer, so you're also not outside. And this is this terrible situation where children are educated from the TV.
Yeah. I think that's a really, really big point. And we don't have to go too far back, because I'm raised in the way that I'm raised in a small village. And if my mom just said, hey, go out. And then I was back in the evening, and there were other parents, other children. But right now in the cities, it's not really possible. That's the point. There are cities we can't. I have no idea. Maybe Berlin, Kreuzberg on the Cottbuser Tor. It's not a good idea to have the children play alone. They are 3 years old.
I mean, it's still happening. It's still happening. I know from doing parkour in places where you would think, oh, that's quite a place here for little children. But there's still this bands of children, like this small, groups of children with all sorts of ages, like some are 10, some are just 4 years old, and sort of walking through the space, and we have sometimes contact with them, that they see us, and then you have children of this various age, which are, I don't know, from different friends and families that know each other, or cousins, and so on and so forth. So it still exists, but definitely it's a different situation. It's maybe also a hen egg thing, no? Like that the screen also makes this, not that it disappeared and then the screen came, but the screen comes and it makes it disappear. Yeah, and to come back to the movement competency, okay, so this is one thing that you would say.
I want to mention that sometimes I call it mobility, because mobility is, for me, is the ability to move. That's important, the ability to move, and the stuff you are teaching is way beyond this basic mobility. So really often I'm just interested in getting the basics and then do something with that. And we can do everything with that. We can do acrobatics, strength training, all that stuff, cool stuff, but I think in every area of our life, there's a basic competency, eating and thinking, moving. And my idea of the basic mobility is being able to move, to do something with that. And in my online courses, so that's enough. It's just, okay, there's the basics, and now do something with that. If they want to do CrossFit, nice, do it. If they want to go skiing, do it, or go to Josef and learn some one-arm chin-ups. Yes, that's an idea. But so
all right.
I think a big pain for me is if I see that people don't have this basic knowledge or wisdom for using their body. I think I'm convinced that everybody should be able to use their body in a basic way. So it's really, really painful for me to see that they don't know and don't trust their body. For me, it's always the feeling that they aren't embodied. The word is wishy-washy, but they aren't really in their body. They don't understand their body, and they look to me with this, tell me, how do I feel? And my wish is that everyone, has this basic trust in their body. So,
I'm somewhat attached and detached to it. I also think I also have the same thing. I think, it would be nice if people more had that. It would be nice for them, I think. And at the same time, I also sort of let go of it enough to also don't care, if everyone is doing this and so on and so forth. Like, okay, I'm standing behind it. I'm doing that, but I also, do not have too much of a reaction all the time. But of course, I see it all the time. Also, like you do. No, like, okay, you on the street or meeting people. Of course, you cannot switch that eyes off of just seeing how people move, and in that sense, not in a judgmental way. Just, so this person has this movement experience. You see very quickly, like basically when someone walks in the door, you already have 80% of the information, I feel. And I also feel it's relatively easy to get this embodiment. Not that it's, it needs some knowledge. Like for a person that doesn't know how, it's very foggy thing. So it needs to make it easy, let's say. It needs people like us. It just sounds a bit like a shameless funneling of people into this direction, but I feel that because we walk through the stuff, and other people as well, and there's this community of taking care of this stuff, and I think we make it relatively easy for people to get to it. You still have to do the work, of course, and you have to put the the hours in, but there's no, it's not very secret stuff, and like it's not a mystery in that sense. Like it's, yeah, you do this and this and this and this, and you take the time. You take the time to do it, and then it will happen.
Yeah. Yeah, you asked about other topics of my work, but related to this is if I I try to make it really, really easy. So for one example, I'm promoting like a morning routine. It doesn't matter if it's in the morning, but it's like a mobility routine, but with the idea. I always start this mobility routine without explaining that too much. Just feel your body, be a little bit conscious. So a little bit conscious and be aware. So that's the first step. Then I go into breathing, basic breathing, learn how to breathe with your diaphragm and all that stuff. And then a couple of effective movements. Effective, I mean, there's a lot behind it, but a couple of movements. But what's in there is that people learn to make something like a self-reflection, a pause, gain awareness, gain consciousness. They gain basic breathing patterns and then basic mobility. And that's all. These three elements are so hugely important, because I think some consciousness and awareness, self-awareness, makes every decision better. And breathing, for sure. Breathing is about, it's about stress management. So that's a really big point. So stress is, okay, we don't have to talk about that. Stress is a really big point. And if people have too much stress, they won't sleep that good, and they will have worse, not that good decisions for eating. So eating is interesting because everybody knows that too much milk chocolate, too much hot dogs aren't good, but they are eating it anyways. So for me, if people lower their stress and know how to make a pause and reflect on themselves and calm they down, they do better decisions for their health. So for me, it always starts with stress management in a way of breathing, consciousness, basic movement, and then a lot of stuff happens. They are happier, they make better decisions, and that's a good start. But if people aren't aware of this, I always call it the gap between how's it called, Reiz, an impulse, and a reaction. So, for example, meditation is a tool where we can map out the space between a stressor, an impulse, and a reaction. And this gap is so important. But I realized if people are really stressed and aren't self-aware, they have no opportunity to decide what they want to eat, how they want to be with other people. Yeah, so something like meditation, self-awareness, breathing, and movement is for me a key to make, to be honest, everything better. Sometimes I do something like this great marketing phrases because it's true. If people sleep better and they do something like breathing and meditation, everything is better. Their testosterone will rise and they will lose weight for sure. Yeah.
And to get practical for a moment, what is their usual first thing in the breathing, a task that you give people, or what would be practical, the action? What would be the first action that people should do there?
I like to start mobility routines on the floor, because we came from the floor, we end our lives on the floor, maybe on the floor, and we have a lot of feedback from the floor. But then I will just start, maybe close your eyes and breathe through your nose and let your tongue sit on the roof of your mouth. And I will introduce there to belly breathing, and maybe have their hands on the belly, on the diaphragm. That's interesting too, because they touch their belly. A lot of people have problems with their belly, with their digestion, and they never touch their belly. So just to have a connection with the belly is really, really important. Our mother did that for sure, but then we lost touch with our belly. Yeah, we breathe through the belly and through the mouth, through the nose, and let the tongue sit on the roof of the mouth, and that's a really good start. And then if they close their eyes and just do 3 or 4 breaths, and sometimes I just say something like, feel how your how the tension in a particular body part is feeling. And there's gained a lot. And it's so often, if I do that for a longer time, people say, okay, right now I can absolutely feel that there's tension in my neck. And then they realize, okay, yeah, maybe there's tension in my neck on. And they that's an interesting point. If they do it in the morning, they say, okay, so I'm so tired, I can't. Okay. And then they begin to suffer because they are so tired. That's interesting because if they aren't aware, maybe they don't really suffer. They didn't realize that they slept not enough. But if they do this routine, this self-awareness breathing routine in the morning, they realize, I have no energy, I'm fucked up. Okay, yeah, maybe because I slept not that good. And that's the first start that they gain motivation to, okay, maybe I'll go earlier to bed. And then they try it and realize, okay, I feel shitty again. Maybe it's not a good idea to have my dinner 10 minutes before I go to bed, because on the next morning, I'm bloated. I try to breathe in my belly, but I can't because I'm really, really bloated. Maybe I have to change my my nutrition a little bit, eating earlier, eating other stuff that I'm not that bloated, because I can't breathe when my belly hurts. And so the game starts. They realize, okay, yeah, nutrition plays a role for sleep. Nutrition plays a role for my breathing, for my belly, for my core stability, to be strong and all that stuff. But yeah, the point is that I feel that we have to realize that. And yes, this consciousness awareness part with breathing is a big one.
And it's an interesting topic, this awareness from, I'm thinking about two things. Like, one thing is that you mentioned, okay, you might be less aware of things. You might not realize that you didn't sleep well. Of course, the question pops up, then is it a good thing to become more aware? Or do you want to not be, because the problem that can arise that some people have, and of course you all also have experience with this people, because actually everyone that is teaching, coaching, providing such things, talking about such things with people, has experience with this people. The people that over problematize things, and then, like you said, okay, not understand what is the essentials of nutrition, for example, but always think it should improve. There should be something better. I'm not there yet. Like, I need more mobility. I need to figure out the supplement that I'm missing. Oh, my sleep was not optimal. Whereas the reality is also that the people that are running the show, the I don't know, the leaders of world countries and whatever, it's very unlikely that they sleep well every day. So that should never be a hindrance to do stuff. Yeah, it should never be that people feel, I first need to fix all of this before I can do something cool. And this is sometimes what happens, to people, that there's a certain type of person that this happens, like people that how can I describe? Maybe people with higher neuroticism or something like this. Yeah, that they get into this loop of no, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. I need to improve. Where other people have said years ago, yeah, it's good enough. Well, now I go. I go to the next thing. I continue. Yeah, I didn't sleep well this night. Doesn't matter. I still just go out of bed and I do what I can. I do with it whatever. And 10 minutes after, like, that's not a topic anymore. It's not something that, at the lunch break I said, today I didn't sleep well. Like, it's already, the person already forgot about it, and that's fine. And at the same time, if you have a good relationship with being aware of this, then it's tremendously helpful. And the second thing that I was thinking about is I would really love to know how people really feel, when someone says, I didn't sleep so well. I would like to be able to feel it, not just have this information of someone saying it and seeing how their body language is and blah, 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 but to really feel what goes on inside of them in a one-to-one copy, in that sense, like to be able to, okay, this is how the person feels like this, because I feel that's the huge gap that is in between us humans, that we are good at observing and at understanding how people feel. In general, we have good abilities there as humans, but there's always this gap. And in coaching, I often feel, oh yeah, this person says he has pain in the knee, and then he can describe it a bit. But what is that exactly? What's like that I really can relate to it, and then I can much better with my experience say, yeah, this pain I also had, and it's not a problem. Or, okay, there's something way beyond something I ever felt. I don't have experience with that personal experience. There's always this gap, and this is, of course, an unsolvable problem.
But it's fun. I heard about something for men that want to feel like it's for having children. And there are some Apple technology that want to stimulate the same pain that women can feel. That's I heard about that. And another ritual.
I would skip, actually.
Yes, I forgot in which culture it is, but they do something like sauna, Schwitzhütte for men, and they spend a lot of time.
Sweat lodge.
Yeah, but for so crazy that you faint out and all that stuff, just to do something like the pain that women experience during childbirth, that men can relate to that. But I would skip that part too. But I found it funny, like
it's always like, yeah, it's not the real thing. Yeah, it's like, okay, you feel a similar pain, but I mean, it doesn't really bridge the gap. It's like a try, but it doesn't really.
Yeah, but
fully do it.
I think I got one point that you mentioned between the lines a little bit. In a lot of people, I see that they are way too self-aware. So self-aware is a tool but sometimes people become so self-aware that they are just, how am I feeling? And they don't really do things because they want to optimize, feel, blah, 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 blah. Am I happy? Am I happy? Am I happy? Blah, blah, blah. And it's important to have this in mind, not to become too self-aware. Because I had a client that she could feel every winding of her dünndarm, of the digestive
small
system.
intestine. I think
of the small intestine, right? Of the small intestine, and but on one point that was more like self-destructive. So it was, she wasn't really able to live because it was really, really way too self-aware. But I like the point that you said about the leaders that have a strong purpose and they don't sleep really well, and often they eat shit. They aren't really healthy, but have a strong purpose, and maybe they have a long, fulfilled life. And that's a really important point in my philosophy, in my coaching. I'm always try to create a dream, or create a dream, to find a dream like a purpose. That could be a big, lofty purpose, or what your purpose is and all that stuff, but a goal, a dream. Because I think if we have a dream, then we are way more willing and motivated to do all the stuff. And the questions I like is what do I want to experience in my life? What is my dream? And then I ask what I have to achieve for that. And when is that good enough? And maybe I realize, okay, I have to be maybe on this body weight, who knows, or I have to do this, or I have to be this to feel this and do this. But if I have to achieve that, that's enough. So in my mind is always, when is the point where I can all the daily goals, when is it enough, when is more healthy not useful? Because in the end, health is just a tool for achieving whatever you want, to being fulfilled, to have a life full of purpose. And even moving good is for me not really interesting. It's just interesting if moving well serves me for living my life good and being for service and being fulfilled, being happy. I don't have to do an one-arm chin-up right now for me. Yeah. So the point is that the goal, the dream is so important. I really can see that the motivation. So you have so much motivation, so much drive and passion to do on everything, because I think you have a strong purpose. And that's not a lot of, that's a big problem right now. I think a lot of people don't have a real strong purpose. Then you can ask why, and they feel that's really hard. They feel, okay, there is not a strong purpose in their life. But the strong purpose is so important to go to the struggles, to nights with not enough sleep and do the projects on the next day. The purpose is so important. And I think that's a long process. It's not like, okay, I do a 1 hour workshop about my life's work and my purpose, and then it's all done. It's a process, and it's pretty it's evolving every time. But it's really important for the deep motivation. Yeah, and for health. That's I'm saying that because it's important for health. Health is are decisions I made, and it's important if I made decision from a strong purpose for eating, or from I just want to enjoy the moment, or have a big goal. That's way more important. I can see that a lot of times. And for me, it's important to work on this really practical plane. Eat that, don't eat that, go to sleep at this time, blah, 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 blah. And on this more meta abstract plane, what's your dream? What's your biggest fear? And all that stuff. And there's a synergy. And that's where the magic happens here.
Thank you, Tim. I think that's a nice end of our conversation today, because it leaves people with a bit of openness to think about. I think that's great, and I would be very happy to soon meet again and talk with each other. Tim, the last thing would be, of course, you have your website, and people can go there, and I will put it on in the show notes. And what's the URL? Say quick.
It's thinkflowgrow.com.
And for your podcast, I mean, there's this episode that we did together, but you cannot say this one. Pinpoint one episode that you would say, hey, start with this episode, listen to this episode. Is there one that comes to your mind? It doesn't need to be the episode, no? Just one thing that comes to your mind.
It doesn't have to be this episode, but on my mind is the episode with Barry Nicholson. Barry Nicholson, it's in English too. So that's why I mentioned that right now. Barry Nicholson is an chiropractor and holistic health medicine doctor. To be honest, for me, this was so interesting. I had a couple of podcasts with big names or something like that. And the crazy part was that I was really, could I ask him? And then the people, they act like they serve me to be a part of my podcast. And it's like, Barry Nicholson for me is like, okay, Barack Obama is my podcast, something like that. But doing that's so interesting, because during that, I felt like they serving me. And that was so nice. So I had the same with Kelly Starrett and a couple of other people that are so humble. And it was so beautiful. So he's a wealth of wisdom, a wealth of knowledge for sure. It's all about the lymphatic system. It's really interesting. Lymphatic system, Barry Nicholson, really, really interesting for all the movement, nutrition, blah, blah, blah stuff. But
is that the guy where you have a video that is a bit that went a little bit viral, let's say for our for our levels here?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's funny, because he has a lymph routine where you activate your lymphatic system. And I just did a snippet from the podcast and put it on YouTube. I have just 2,000 YouTube subscriber. But then I realized, okay, there was 10,000, 40,000, 50,000 clicks on that. And then Perry told me that he has no video from his own routine. So he's always sharing my video for his clients in his workshops. It's so funny because he's just a guy, he's just doing things, and how is it looking is really crappy often, but he just do things. So he just shares my video. So
Okay. So he's not so much into the big production.
He's just on fire, really. He's just on fire. Yeah, that's nice.
Okay, yeah, that's nice. That's often actually the case, no, with like people that have a lot of knowledge, and then have you ever seen the Taleb videos from Taleb on his YouTube channel for Nassim Taleb?
No.
It's like with his MacBook, with the webcam of his MacBook, and he explains some math stuff. It's like super bad microphone and camera, and he also says, yeah, guys, if anyone cares about this, then you're at the wrong place. Just listen to what I say. You see, like, it's enough. You see enough. You don't need to have the big production value, the good camera, and so on and so forth. But still can be also nice. But I like it. I like to do with this stuff with the good camera. But I feel the same. Like, this is the essential, and everything on top of that is on top of that. And that's nice. That's a nice thing that this video happened there on the fly, no? Like, on the fly it happened. You asked it, he said it, and now it's something that he can also use, and that many people have watched. So I will put it in the show notes as well. I hope I need to take a note now what I have to put into the show notes.
Just the fun thing is that, okay, our conversation right now is in English, so I'm not that used to doing it in English. And the conversation Perry Nicholson, it's 1 year ago, so I think in this clip my English is really crappy. And so 60,000 views, and my crappy English is way worse than right now. So
that's a good thing, to be exposed and to realize I'm not dying. I'm not dying. The whole world is listening to my English. Yeah. So everyone, thanks for. No, you don't say thanks. I learned. You never say thanks. That's one rule. So I don't do it. But what I wanted to say is, as a joke, thanks for listening to these two guys that are trying to speak English. I say it as a joke because this was once a comment I get, a question. Josef, why are you trying to speak English in this podcast? Yeah, thanks. That was a great comment I once got, and you see, I'm still very traumatized. Good, Tim. Yeah. Thank you very much for being here, and hear from you soon.
Yeah,
all right.
Thank you.